Assalamualaikum YouTube viewers. The topic of today's video is the role of analytical chemistry in different branches of science. So, this is just a basic diagram that is going to explain how analytical chemistry is related to all other branches of science. For example, let's just say that I have this analytical chemistry, okay, and it is related to the chemistry in biochemistry, organic chemistry, physical chemistry. Okay, so these are all the branches of chemistry that make use of the analytical chemistry. And similarly, if I talk about biology, then in botany, genetics, microbiology, micromolecular biology, zoology, all of these branches use the analytical chemistry. And similarly, geology, we have geophysics, geochemistry, paleontology. So these are all the branches of the geology that are related to the analytical chemistry. Means that these branches will make use of the analytical chemistry in one way or the other. So, so you can read all of these other branches that are related to the analytical chemistry. Means that all of these branches are making use of the analytical chemistry in one way or the other. So let's just take an example that we have the concentration of oxygen and carbon dioxide are determined in millions of blood samples every day and used to diagnose and treat illness. So this is about biology, in which we have the concentration of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood that is being diagnosed every day. Okay, and then another example we have is quantities of hydrocarbons, nitrogen oxides, and carbon monoxide present in the automobile exhaust gases are measured to determine their effectiveness of the emission control devices. So what do we basically do? We have the different methods to determine the amount of the hydrocarbons, the amount of the nitrogen oxides, and the carbon monoxide that are present in the exhaust gases from the automobile, from the vehicle. Okay, and when we determine the quantity of each of these compounds, we can use the emission control devices accordingly. So the third thing is that quantitative measurement of ionized calcium in blood serum help diagnose parathyroid disease in humans. So that's again a use in the biology, in which we have the measurement of ionized calcium in the blood serum. So what do? We just basically measure the amount of the ionized calcium in the blood serum, and that can help us in diagnosing the parathyroid disease in the humans. So moving on, we have the quantitative determination of nitrogen in foods establishes the protein content and thus their nutritional value. So we can determine the amount of the nitrogen that is present in the food, and through which we can determine the protein content, because as you know that proteins are made up of the amino acids and amino acids contains the nitrogen. So if we can find the amount of nitrogen, then we can find the amount of protein that is present in the food. And in this way, we can get a nutritional value of our compound, of our food, of our content. So, analysis of steel. So, another application of the analytical chemistry is the analysis of steel during its production permits adjustment in the construction of such elements. So, when we are analyzing a steel, we make use of different analytical techniques. And through these techniques, what do? We can determine the concentration of elements like carbon, nickel, and chromium to achieve a desired strength. Okay, means that we can increase or decrease the carbon amount, the nickel amount, or the chromium amount while making the steel. And by increasing and decreasing the carbon, nickel, and chromium amount while making the steel can help us achieve the desired strength of the steel, can help us achieve the desired hardness, corrosion resistance, and ductility of the steel. Okay. Okay, the second thing, the sixth point is the mercaptan content of the household gas supplies is monitored continually to ensure that the gas has sufficiently obnoxious odor to warn of dangerous leaks. So that is just another use in the household. Okay. Okay, what do farmers do? Farmers just analyze the plants and the soil. And after analyzing the plants and the soil, they can find the amount of the nutrient, the amount of the fertilizers in the ground, in the soil. And using this, they can tailor the fertilization and irrigation schedule. Okay, they can change their fertilization and irrigation schedule. For example, if I have a soil in which there is a lot of nitrogen, so a farmer will favor not to fertilize the ground at that time. Okay, he will use the fertilizer at some later instant because there is already a lot of fertilizer present in the ground. So that was point number 7, and another use of the analytical chemistry. And so now the next point is the quantitative measurement of potassium, calcium, and sodium ions in the body fluids of animals. Okay, when we measure the quantities of potassium, calcium, and sodium ions, we can find the nerve signal conduction, as well as the muscle contraction and relaxation. Because in the muscle contraction and relaxation, the ions that are involved are potassium, calcium, and sodium ions. So if you have the quantitative measurement of potassium, calcium, and sodium ions, what you can do, you can study the role of these ions in the nerve signal conduction and the muscle contraction and relaxation. Okay, as you know in the nerve that there are some gates in which potassium and sodium ions are moving opposite to each other. So the nerve signals are basically due to the movement of the potassium and sodiums, and as well as the muscle contraction and relaxation is basically due to the calcium ions. So the ninth point is we have is chemists unravel the mechanism of chemical reaction through the reaction rate studies. So using the analytical chemistry, we can find the reaction rates. So reaction rates are usually studied in physical chemistry, so that's just another branch of chemistry in which we are using the analytical chemistry. So the rate of consumption of reactants or formation of products in a chemical reaction can be calculated from quantitative measurement made at precise time intervals. So that is another use of the analytical chemistry, in which we have the rate of the consumption of reactants or the formation of products in the chemical reaction, and that can be determined by taking the measurement at precise time intervals. Okay, so these were all of the uses of the analytical chemistry in different branches of science. Hope you are getting my point. If you have any question, you can freely ask in the comments and I will let you know.